Hey everyone, my name is AJ Lindsay. I'm a guitarist and producer in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. So I wanted to make this video today as sort of a more informal or less edited video that I'm gonna call something like midweek Q&A. And what I want to do is I want to take the questions that I find in the comments of my previous videos and just create a space for me to answer those, clear up those questions. So moving forward, if there's anything that you're confused about, something that I mention and you just want a lot more clarity on, please leave a comment. I'll either reply to your comment or I'll include them in this midweek Q&A. So today's episode, if you want to call it that, is about the Strymon Iridium, a little bit more into how I use it. I released a video this past Monday and I saw some comments on there just wanting to go a little bit more in depth into how I use it. Maybe there were some things out there that you heard about the Strymon Iridium, but then I might have said something different, so you just want me to clear things up. So I have a few questions that we're gonna go through, and again, this is gonna be much less formal, kind of a laid-back style of video, but it should be fun, and I hope to keep these going. So if you have any questions on any future videos, please leave a comment and I'll get to them. I'll either reply to your comment or I will include them in this midweek Q&A. I've been watching some videos about the Iridium versus the UA Dream 65, and one criticism that comes up of the Iridium is that people don't like the stock IRs, but they are not changeable. But I said in my previous video that I changed them out. So was there maybe a time a few years ago when they couldn't be changed out? I don't know if there was a time where they couldn't be changed out. That wouldn't surprise me if when the Iridium first came out, if we just weren't able to access changing out the IRs inside of the box. But that is not the case anymore. You definitely can change out the IRs inside the Iridium, which I did. Like I said, I used David Hislop's IRs and they sound great. Regarding if people don't like stock IRs, I mean, I used them for a long time. That's just a personal preference, whether you like them or not. I did use them for a long time, but I decided to upgrade, I guess, and get the David Hislop IRs. But to show what I mean by how I was able to add them to the Iridium, we're gonna jump into a software and I'll show you like a screen recording here and talk through like the different sounds that I use. So let's look at that software. So here we are in the Strymon Impulse Response Manager software for the Iridium. I currently have my Iridium plugged into my computer and I'm able to see all 9 combinations of sounds that you can get from the different settings on the face of the Iridium. So the 3 different amps, round, chime, and punch, and then the 3 cabs as well going with those. So for the Iridium, you can definitely change out the stock sounds because I was able to download these off the internet, and once you have your files, there's so many options here. If you buy the David Hislop pack, you can get so many different sounds. These are all just different mic placements that he used when creating the impulse responses. But once you have all these, you can just drag over different sounds. So that one I just put in the left side of round A, and then I can have this other one in the right side of round A. So on my Iridium, if I go to that, once I hit save and sync, I go back to my Iridium and move the switches to round A, the Iridium will now sound like the IRs that David Hislop has created. So again, you definitely can change out the stock sounds. Those are not permanent, and this software makes it really easy to use and really easy to upload these sounds to the Iridium. What does it feel like playing through the Iridium? Are there any latency issues? It feels great. There's no latency issues at all. If I'm wearing headphones, absolutely no latency. I can't really tell it when I'm recording. I don't think there's any latency within the Iridium. My DAW, I use Logic. That might cause a little bit of latency, but there's also low latency mode that you can use in the DAW and things like that. So recording, maybe, but I can't tell. And In a live setting, there's not any latency. So in a live setting, I use just the 1/4 inch out, and it runs, you know, into a DI box, into the front of house, soundboard, goes through all the mixing, comes out through the speakers, and there's no latency there. I even wear in-ears when I'm on stage, and there's no latency from when I'm playing, whenever I strum a chord or pluck a note or whatever, to when I hear it back, there's no latency at all. So the answer to that question is no. I have never experienced latency with this pedal. Okay, the next question, when recording, is my method generally considered okay, or are there better ways to use the Iridium to record? I've done it 2 different ways. So like I said in that video, at home I use the headphone jack, and I have that cable that splits it off into a left and right 1/4 inch plug, and I plug those directly into my Focusrite Scarlett, because the inputs, you can do either an XLR or a 1/4 inch, or it's like instrument versus line input or something like that. So the alternative to that, and someone else commented this as well, why don't I just use the left and right outputs on the Iridium? They're 1/4 inch, so why don't I just go out from there into the Focusrite Scarlett? And the reason I don't do that is because I didn't want to spend the money on 2 1/4 inch cables. So I wanted a cable that was pretty long, so my pedal board could be in another room or be somewhere else. If I'm recording a video or something, I could have the Scarlett, I could have it out of the frame of the camera. So anyway, I just wanted long enough cables to get from the Iridium or my pedal board to the Scarlett. And instead of buying 2 1/4 inch cables that were 10 feet long, 20 feet long, that cable that I showed in the video, the Iridium video, was like $10. And I think it sounds great. I don't experience any loss of clarity when I'm recording with it. But I will say I went to a studio recently, was tracking guitars for a demo song, and he had me use the 1/4 inch outputs, and I believe those plugged into a DI box, which then turned them into XLRs, which then the XLRs were plugged into the interfaces they had at the studio. I don't know if that's the more professional way to do it. It didn't sound any different to me than it does when I'm just using the headphone jack at home. So to say is the way I did it just okay, I mean, I don't think that's the case. I think that's a reasonable way to do it for a home recording setup. Like I said, I don't experience any loss of clarity. A couple videos ago, I did a cover of the song "There Is a Savior" by New Life Worship, and that whole time I was using the headphone jack plugged into my audio interface, the Scarlett, and it was fine. So I think it's a good way to do it, and it's a bit cheaper. Again, I'm kind of cheap on these kind of things, so thought it worked great. Okay, the next question is about DI boxes. So when I want to play through speakers of some sort, is that what the Iridium has to go into first? A DI box, active or passive? What is the general purpose of it? So what a DI box is, and this is a really high level summary, is it takes 1/4 inch cables and turns them into XLR cables. The different types of cables help with clarity among long distances. That's one of the benefits. If you have your signal going from your Iridium maybe really far away to a soundboard or a mixer or something like that, it's good to turn it into an XLR because it helps with clarity over that long distance. So a DI box, again, just turns the 1/4 inch into an XLR. There are fancy DI boxes out there that add like a gain boost to your signal, but that's not super important. So just a DI box, you don't have to use a DI box. So like I said here, when I'm recording, I'm just using headphone jack into my audio interface, or if you have 2 1/4 inch cables out to the audio interface. that's all you need to get your sound from your Iridium to a mixer or your computer or something like that. You asked active or passive. So DI boxes are passive, I believe. If I'm wrong about that, will someone correct me in the comments? I think there might be some DI boxes that are active and you might have to use like phantom power, which is just a switch on the soundboard that you turn on and it sends power through the XLR cable to the DI box. Certain microphones, like this microphone I'm using right here, requires phantom power, and maybe some DI boxes do, but I think they're just passive. So if you want to play through speakers, there's not one answer, but I'll tell you what I do. So I have two powered speakers. They're JBL Studio Monitors, and again, I do everything in stereo, so I leave the stereo switch in the middle and run, well, I can use my headphone jack cable to go out of here, take the right side, put it in the right speaker, take the left side, put it in the left speaker, and that gives me the stereo image I can hear out of my powered speakers. Or you can just do, there's again 2 1/4-inch outs, so you can have 1 1/4-inch going to the left speaker, 1 1/4-inch going to the right speaker. If your pedal board is set up mono, and you only want to run to one speaker, there's 2 different things you can do. Actually, there's one thing you can do if your board's in mono. You have to flip the switch over to the mono side, and then it's gonna sound the same coming out the left or the right. So you just plug your one powered speaker into this, and you can listen to it through the speaker, as long as the speakers have 1/4-inch inputs. Again, just want to clarify. Or if you have a stereo board but only have one speaker, you'll need to use the sum option. So you have your stereo signal going in, and then the Iridium's going to sum both sides into one mono output, which is going to come out the left side, and you can send that to the one powered speaker. Now, one thing to note, I know I've said this a few times now, speakers have to be powered. You cannot plug an Iridium into like a tube amp speaker that's not powered, because no sound is going to come out. I also just don't recommend that. Don't use amp speakers or an amp cabinet for the Iridium. Use powered speakers if you have them. Okay, I think that's all the questions for this episode. Again, this was kind of a first one of this whole midweek Q&A series that I may keep doing. Hopefully this was helpful and answered your questions. I feel like I kind of rambled at some points, but if anything is still not clear, leave a comment and I'll be happy to clear things up again. I just want to help. You know, when I was first starting out in guitar, I was looking up videos to try to learn about pedals, and I was always confused, and it never seemed like anyone answered the detailed questions, and so that's what I want to try to do for anyone that watches these videos. I want to help you out. So again, if I'm not making anything clear, please let me know, and I can improve on my clarity and go up from there. So I hope this video helped, and thanks for watching.